all of my shit together. Sorry guys, I had a little bit of a crazy morning trying to prepare, but I think I've got almost everything ready. I was grabbing my 16mm hook. You'll need either a 15 or a 16. So I've got that. Let me put this back away. Oh, I gotta turn the sound off of that. Okay. Well, I am super excited to have you guys here. This is the first time. If you guys are joining me for my regular Tuesday live, I have decided to start a new live crochet-along, creating one of my Luna cardigans. So that's what we are going to start today. So I'm really excited. The main reason that I decided to do this is because I have been wanting to make a Luna cardigan for my stepmom. And I was like, well, I have to make one anyway, and I don't need to do another tutorial like photos. So I decided, okay, I'll just do it live on my lives, and then I can, talk about it, go through the pattern. If you guys have not seen one of my Lunas, I have one that I'm going to show you guys. And the one that I'm going to be making on these lives is actually going to be a homespun version. So this is homespun yarn. This is actually a bulky. So if you were reading the description, the Luna cardigan calls for a super bulky size yarn, so a size 6. This is a size 5, and I am going to be holding it double stranded. So, and if you have a vendetta against homespun and you can't stand it, I challenge you to try holding it double stranded and using a larger hook like the 15 or 16 to make the Luna. It makes the experience so much better and so much easier working with this yarn. So let me grab a Luna to show you guys. This is my original homespun Luna. Let's see. So I had a huge scrap bin full of homespun yarn. So I had about 20 colors, I think, that were half used. And so I mixed them all together to make this one. I'll show you guys. So this is what it looks like on. So this is what we're going to be making. There we go. So yes, so there we go. The yarn that I am using, and you're probably going to hear the dogs barking. I think the post person is here picking up some yarn. Picking up some packages. Okay, so like I said, I'm using homespun, and this one is Painted Desert. Like I said, there you go. That's what I'm using. I was kind of sad it wasn't as bright as it was in the pictures, so that was kind of a letdown. I thought it was going to be a little bit brighter, but that's okay. We get what we get. I actually wanted, before I started on this, I wanted to try and make a cake holding these double-stranded, so I would have a big yarn cake that already made them double-stranded and ready to go, but I ran out of time. Like I said, today got a little crazy, but I'm going to center pull from these and maybe make a cake when I get done with the front panel with what's left over. Okay, so, and I also have my peanut butter sandwich. I'm going to try to finish that as we move forward. So, let's get this party started. I printed off my Luna cardigan PDF. And just so you guys know, one of the biggest questions, one of the most often asked questions was if I was going to do a printer-friendly version, because my patterns are very, very heavy in color, as you can see. Lots of photos. This year, I have started doing printer-friendly versions. I do still have to go back and add them to the older patterns, But I have started adding that for you guys. So if you can't print out that much color, I understand. Okay, so I did have someone saying I can't get my gauge right. So with the gauge, it really does depend. I tend to be a tighter crocheter. So my original Luna I made using a 16 millimeter hook. And so you might have to, what is it? If I crochet tightly, you might have to go down in hook sizes to match my gauge. It's possible. So you could try a 15. I have people who have even had to go down to like a 12 or a 13 sometimes to match my gauge if they crochet a little bit more loosely. And you can also play around with your yarn. So depending on the issues that you're having with your gauge, you can try to add in another smaller strand of yarn. So like I'm double stranding this, but sometimes I've had people who will have some like Woolies Thick and Quick or something, and they'll throw in a strand of worsted weight or Aran weight yarn. And sometimes that will help with the gauge, depending on what the issue is. Now, if you're off by just a little bit, it's not awful. You know, this cardigan does give a lot of wiggle room. If it's a little bit bigger, it's just going to be a little oversized cardigan. So it's not bad, but it sounds like you are good now. Yes, so Jessica and B. Martin says, now I'm good. Woohoo! Okay. So if we go through the pattern now, I would love to know if you guys, if you're following along today and you are here live to do the crochet along, let me know if you are good at reading patterns. Let me know if you have experience reading patterns or if you're following along on this journey, on this crochet along, because you're not very sufficient at reading patterns. And so you've been looking for the opportunity to do this as a crochet along so that you can see what I'm doing. I have the materials and everything that you need in the description of the video, so you can check that out. Okay, so we're ready to jump right in. I am going to be making the size extra small / small. So that is the second size that I'm going to be making for this one for my stepmom. And that's actually the size I'm wearing. Usually if I'm making, if you see me modeling any of my patterns, it's going to be that size. So it's not going to be the smallest size unless it's an older pattern. My older patterns only went down to about a size small. That's what I would have worn. But now they go down to an extra, extra small. And that's usually not the size I make for myself. I usually make the second size up, which is the extra small / small. I do not have the size estimates in this one. I don't think. Let me double check. I may. If you purchase this pattern, there is a size guide at the end. Oh, yes, there is. There's a size guide at the end. And I'll read that off really quick, just in case you're not sure which one to make and you did not purchase the pattern. Or actually, I bet you I could just hold it up. I bet you I could just hold it up. Let's see if that works. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to hold that up there for just a second so you guys can pause the video if you need to double check which size you need. But that has the estimated bust measurement size ranges for each size. Now, if you purchase the pattern, there is a size guide that has people actually wearing the cardigans along with their body measurements. So you can see all of these different people wearing them. And these models are my testers. And they are so wonderful to allow me to feature them, include their measurements and which size they make. So if you purchase the pattern, that's included in there. I've started doing that with all of my wearable patterns to try to help make it easier to see the items on people's bodies and help you choose which size you want to make. All right. Okay, so we're ready to get started. I am going to try to be as inclusive as possible in this crochet along and include the stitch counts for everybody, even though I'm going to be making a certain one. This can be a little tricky if you're not following along on the pattern, but I want to try to include it so you can kind of pause it and listen for your stitch count or if you need. But this is a very, very simple pattern, so I'm hoping this will be easy for everybody to follow along and enjoy. I would love to get through the back panel and the first front panel today. We shall see. But I kind of wanted to do this in real time because I think this is, you know, a lot of the tutorial videos, you don't really actually see how long it takes someone to sit down and crochet the actual item. You know, you may see pieces and parts and then they might fast forward a little bit. But I think this might be kind of cool to see things as, you know, as it's actually being made. All right. So like I said, I am using 2 strands of 5. And I did notice in the comments, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. I have my computer over here. That's why I'm looking this direction. And the post office person is here. That's why the dogs are barking. So I apologize for that. Yes, so doubling a size 4 only gets you a size 5. So you would need to try and triple or quadruple a size 4 in order to do this, which is okay. You can totally try that. These cardigans, like I said, are super simple. You can try it out, see what you think, make the back panel, check your gauge, make sure that you're at least within that range on the gauge with what you're working with, because you may be able to get away with 3 strands, you know, or if you have 1 strand of 5, 2 strands of 4, you can try tripling. That might work. And we have a couple of people not very good with patterns. I need to make sure, give me just a second, guys. Sorry, we got a little spam comment here. There we go. No idea how to read them and learn to crochet visually last year. That's awesome. We'll get you there. And let's see, I can't read patterns very well. I'm a visual learner. Experienced at reading patterns. We have a good mix. This is great. Yeah, okay, I think we're ready to get started. All right, so you've got your yarn and you've got your hook. I've got my 16 millimeter hook. Like I said, you can use a 15-5, 15. Some people might jump all the way down to a 12 if you're a super loose crocheter. I've had people do that for this. And you may even go up if you're just as tight of a crocheter as me. Yes, and you can use 1 strand of 6. Yes, any size 6 bulky yarn. I do have to say the only one that I know of, Karen Chunky Cakes. To me, it says it's a size 6. I see it more as a size 5. I would double that up. So if you're using Karen Chunky Cakes, I would double that up. But most of the other ones, if you're using blanket yarn, Woolies Thick and Quick, Homespun USA, I love the yarn I have on. So the yarn I have on is homespun double stranded, which is what I'm going to be doing today. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that I am center pulling. See what's happening here. All right. So I'm going to take my label off. I am not usually a center pull yarn gal. But I'm thinking about creating a cake with what's left of this after I finish my back panel. So I think it'll be smarter for me to pull from the outside. So here's the other side of the strand that's wrapped around. So I'm just going to continue wrapping that around and tuck that in so that it does not get tangled up with my center pull. I'm going to toss these on the floor because that, to me, that's the best way to manage my yarn when I'm using super bulky. It can just kind of roll around as it wants to, unless the cat comes in and then he'll grab it. So taking this label off, same thing, found the center pull, the outside. Where's the outside pull? I kind of want to make sure it's tucked in. And it wasn't. So I'm going to pull that one out of this side and I'm going to wrap it around. All right, this is going to be fun. I'm excited, you guys. And feel free, I'm going to try to chat too a little bit. This is usually my time to chat with you guys on the live. So if there's anything you want to chat about, and I'll just try to share my tips and tricks when it comes to crocheting as well. So I've got my 2 strands of yarn held together and I'm going to make my slip stitch. So for me, I like to flip my yarn over so I create like a ribbon, like it looks like those remembrance ribbons and I'm holding right in the center. And then I pull the end of the yarn through and pull it tight and still have the end. So I actually have a whole video about the basics. So if you're on here, super basics, you'd really prefer more of a top-down style tutorial, you can start with my playlist for learning how to crochet, because I've got how to make a slip stitch, how to chain, how to do single crochet, all the things you're going to need for this up close and personal. So that's a good place to start if you struggle with this at all. Let's see. Okay. All right, so I am going to start with, all right, so the first thing is we're going to create our beginning chain. This is just a regular chain. It's not foundation chain, super simple. You can use a smaller hook here if you want to, so that your chain is not looser. So sometimes people like to size down on their hook in order to make sure that their starting chain isn't super, super big. You know, sometimes it can look a little blown out and weird. So size down if you want. Hop down to like a, 12 or a 15.5 if you're using a 16 to make that chain a little bit smaller. You can try that. All right, so here are the different sizes. And actually, I'm just going to show it to you. I think this is good because then people can pause it where they are. So I'm going to scoot up. All right, back panel. So you can see here, see if it'll come into focus again. So we're going to chain 25, 27, 31, 33, 35, 37, 39, 43, or 45, depending on the size that you are making. All right. So I am going to be chaining 27, which is the second size. So that's what I'm going to do first. And like I said, you can find this pattern in my Etsy shop. If it's easier for you to download the PDF and follow along that way, you can do that as well so that you don't have to pause it and look that up. But I'm going to start by chaining 27. And I am going to have to count or I will miscount. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, almost there, 26, 27. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pull me some yarn out of these. All right, so I've got my chain of 27, and this is starting the back bottom portion of the back panel, and I'm going to be working up. So you're actually working on this back piece right back here, and we're going to work our way up towards the shoulders. All right, so I've got my chain of 27, and then we're going to start with row 1. So what row 1 reads HDC, which is half double crochet. So you're going to half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. Now I cover this in all of my basic beginner tutorials as well. The second chain from the hook is pretty much just, you don't want to work into the same chain that's right off of your hook, because you'll literally lose what's on your hook. You want to go to the next one. So the one that's right next to the chain on your hook. And you're going to work a half double crochet, and then you're going to work half double crochets all the way across the chain. So you should end up with one less stitch than is in your chain. So I chain 27. I should end up with 26 half double crochet stitches when I get done with this. So that is what I'm going to do. And like I said, if you have questions or anything as we go forward, I will do my best to answer them. So you can pop those in the comments. But I'm going to start working my half double crochet stitches across that chain. Trying to take my time. I think my chain's pretty good. I don't think it got too screwed up. Yeah, I really truly feel like I never had a thing against homespun yarn. I always thought it was pretty soft. It was fairly easy to find for me. You know, I've lived in some rural areas, and sometimes the closest place that I have to buy yarn was Walmart. And I haven't seen homespun in Walmart in a while. But back then I could find it at just my local Walmart. And so I would buy all the different colors, and I would make things like slippers. And this is back when I was knitting too. But I definitely like working with larger yarn. It just doesn't, you know, projects don't take as long. So, you know, it makes more sense for me to double it up so that I can still use it, because it's very soft. The cardigan that I have on right now, like I said, it is also a Luna using homespun double stranded, and it is the softest cardigan that I own. I can't remember if I've washed it or not, so I can't speak to how it washes. I do think that it's already starting to pill a little bit. You know, it starts to get a little floofy on the edges. You know, you can see the fuzzies, but that's fine. You know, it's lived in. I love it. And it's actually surprisingly warm. I think because this is acrylic yarn, it's not going to breathe as well, which ends up making it warmer. You know, like you can get a little hot wearing this, but not as hot as my wool. I had on a wool cardigan before I put this one on, before I started the video, and I wasn't going to be able to handle that. All right, I am almost done with my first row. Let me check the comments. Love that you're doing this so I can go back and try it out. That's my goal. I haven't had the motivation to sit down and do a full-on top-down tutorial of a cardigan. So I feel like this was the next best thing. And if you're just joining in, I am on row 1 of the Luna cardigan, making the second size, which is the extra small / small. And I am working my half double crochet stitches across the chain, and I should end with 26 stitches. I'm on my last one. Okay. I'm interested too to show everyone how quickly these can be made. I mean, that was also part of my goal, was like, okay, I want people to see that you don't have to spend months making a cardigan. All right, so I've got my first row completed. And now it gets really easy, okay? Because you're just going to repeat the same thing until you hit the right number of rows. I do want to throw in a couple of tips and tricks here, especially with homespun. So with homespun, and just to make sure, I like to go back and count my stitches, especially on the first chain, to make sure that I do indeed have the number of stitches that I'm supposed to have. So I know that I'm supposed to have 26 stitches, and I'm pretty sure this would be counted as the chain 1 right here on the end. So I'm going to start with my first set of V's, and I'm going to count across. 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20. It says I have 25. So this end piece is actually a chain. So that's important. I am actually going to place a stitch marker because I did not count that end piece here as a stitch, and I would need to, or my count's going to be off for the next row. So I'm going to grab some stitch markers. And if you guys didn't know, we do 3D print stitch markers. So if you're looking for a new kind of stitch marker, I use these. They're little cats. There you go. And they have the little slip right here. So I take the little kitty stitch marker and I just pull that through. There we go. Homespun yarn is awful for any stitch markers. That's not bad. There we go. All right, so now I have it marking that first one so that I know when I go back down this row that I do need to work into this one to have 26. So that's super helpful. All right. Now you can also mark, I've had people who use their stitch markers to mark rows. So if you're concerned about keeping up with the rows, the good thing is it's not too difficult to count half double crochet rows like it can be with single crochet rows. So single crochet rows can get a little weird. It can be difficult to count them, but I think half double and double crochet rows are a little bit easier. Okay, so I love your hook. Yes, we've made our hooks. We 3D print our hooks. So we have a whole bunch of them. We don't have a lot of 15s and 16s right now. Those have run out. We will be releasing more hooks next month, but I think we only have one 16 left in the shop and we have no 15s. So there's one 16 and it's like a purple ombre glitter color. But we're going to be, we release new hooks every month in different colors. So you can check out and see what we've got, see if there's anything you like. All right. So once you get done with your first row and you count and make sure you have the number that you need, you are always going to start the next row by chaining 1. So I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to turn my work, and then I'm going to work half double crochet stitches all the way across. All right. So it's going to be the same. I'm going to be working 26 half double crochet stitches across for a total of 20 rows. All right. So I'm going to hold up this one more time so you guys can see, and actually I'll just count it off. So for each size, the smallest size, you should be working 24 half double crochet stitches across. Extra small slash small is 26 half double crochet stitches. Small slash medium is 30 half double crochet stitches across. Medium slash large is 32. Large slash extra large is 34. XL slash 2X is 36. 2X slash 3X is 38. 3X slash 4X is 42. And 4X slash 5X is 44. That's how many stitches you will be working across your patterns. And then this is the amount of rows you're going to be working in your back panel. For the extra small slash extra small, 19 rows. For the extra small, 20 rows. Small medium, 21 rows. Medium large, 23 rows. Large XL, 24 rows. XL slash 2X, 26 rows. 2X slash 3X, 27 rows. 3X slash 4X, 28 rows. 4X slash 5X, 29 rows. Okay, and I am going to hold this up so you guys can see this one more time. These are the instructions for the back panel. Just so you guys can pause that if you need to read that yourself. Okay, so I'm going to get started on this back panel. Okay, so I chained one, I turned my work, and I'm going to start working my half double crochet stitches back across. Now, what's interesting about the half double crochet stitch to me, and it's my favorite stitch, if you work any of my patterns, you need to know the half double crochet stitch because I use it all the time in my patterns. But it can be a little tricky because everybody learns, not everybody, but there are different ways that people learn to create the half double crochet stitch, and different people work into different loops. Now, if you watch my my video in my Learn to Crochet playlist on how to create the half double crochet, or I mean, if you're a seasoned crocheter, you'll know half double crochet stitches create 3 workable loops. Instead of, when you create a single crochet or double crochet, there's 2 loops that you work under. It's that characteristic V that the stitch creates. But the half double crochets are sneaky because they create the V, but then they create an extra loop. So you've got a 3rd loop that you can work into to create different patterns and things like that. So for me, when I do what I consider to be a regular half double crochet, I actually work under the 2nd and 3rd loop away from me. Now it's hard for me to show on here with the homespun because that's not an easy one to see. I actually do have a video. It's one of my YouTube shorts that shows how I work into the back 2 loops. And what's interesting is some people call the 3rd loop one thing and the 3rd loop other things. So it's even hard to explain because some people might think that when I say the 2nd and 3rd loop, they may not be thinking what I'm thinking. It gets very, very confusing. So most of the time I just do what I do. I call it a regular half double crochet. And either way, it's going to turn out great, no matter how you make your half double crochets. All right, so here we are at the end of row 2. I am going to count my stitches because I am left with this one stitch right here on the end where I marked it. I have not worked into it yet, and I want to make sure that I need to. So I'm going to count to make sure that I have the right number of stitches. I've got 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 20, 25, and I need 26. So I am indeed going to work a half double crochet stitch into this final stitch marked by the kitty stitch markers. All right. So now something that can help you too, if you struggle with making straight lines on things like blankets and scarves, you'll probably have the same issues with this. So a trick that I've learned from other people, I don't have as much of an issue. Sometimes you can just count your stitches and make sure that at the end of each row, you always have the number of stitches you're supposed to have. That's the easiest way. But something else you can do, as I drop my stitch marker, is I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn my work to start my 3rd row, which is going to be exactly the same. Okay, so I've got my 2 rows right here. I'm going to go ahead and create my first half double crochet stitch. And then while that stitch is still on my hook, I'm going to place a stitch marker in that first stitch that I just created. And like I said, I don't think any stitch markers play nicely with homespun, but there we go. So I've got my stitch marker in that first stitch. And that way, when you go back the other direction, you know that that's the last one you need to work into. So you're not going to accidentally miss a stitch at the end of the row. So that can be super helpful. I think it was Jamie, one of my friends that tests for me too, who told me about that little trick. And I was like, that's a good idea. I need to share that. All right, so I'm going to start my 3rd row. And again, my 3rd row, I'm working the 2nd size, which is the extra small, which is 26 half double crochet stitches for a total of 20 rows. And I'm on row 3. Got a couple of comments. Let's see what we're saying. Troll alert. Oh, thank you, thank you. Let's remove them. I like that you can put users in timeout. No, you're just getting hidden on the channel. Love the stitch markers. Yay, I'm so glad you like them. Yeah, we have cats, pom-pom hats. We still have some Christmas trees and snowmen up in the shop and some little sheep stitch markers. Let's see. I'll have you know that for several months I've been using pretty much all of your patterns. I appreciate it. I'm so glad that you like them. Does working the half double crochet that way change the height of the stitch? It's possible. So you would want to check your gauge, like I said before. I don't think it changes it too much, but it definitely could. So you want to double check how you're creating them. And that might be, you know, if there are people having trouble matching my gauge, that might be why. But there have been quite a few times where I try to say exactly how I work my half double crochet stitches in patterns, and it ends up being more confusing because it's like I'm trying to over explain it. So that has, for me, I just say, you know what, this is how I make my half double crochet. This is what I consider a regular half double crochet. For me, that's how I learned it. Yeah, so it can be a struggle. But you know, that's what testers are for. They've helped me a lot. There have been times where they have been the ones to say, no, you don't need to try to over explain it. There's enough people who do theirs this way that, you know, you can just leave it as a regular half double crochet. All right, I'm getting towards the end of my 3rd row. Let me know if you guys are actually following along. If you are, how's it going? Are you able to keep up with me doing it this way, doing it live? And let me know what yarn you chose to use, because that is one of my favorite parts of this experience, is especially when I go through the testing process, because when I do the testing process, I get to see color combinations and types of yarn that I would have never thought to use. And to me, it's very fun to see. All right, so I chained 1. I'm turning my work. I am on row 4. And I can do the same thing. If I want to place a stitch marker in my first half double crochet on this side, I can do that as well. I'm not going to. I'll just count my stitches if I'm concerned and make sure that I still have 26. But I am going to wing it. Most of my patterns are designed to allow you to multitask. I have never been one to I don't want to have to sit in a completely silent room and count stitches and have a notebook where I'm ticking off stitch numbers, or a stitch marker that I then forget to press the button at the end of a row. I struggle with that kind of attention span. And so I wanted to create patterns that were a lot more meditative. So you weren't having to actually focused really hard on counting stitches or anything like that. You know, you could easily sit down and relax, listen to some music, listen to a podcast, watch some TV, and not feel like you're going to screw up the pattern completely because you're not focused enough. That was really important to me with my patterns, as well as being beginner friendly. I feel like it's so easy to get overwhelmed as a new crocheter, and especially with wearables. I mean, it took me years. I think, you know, I learned to crochet in high school. A lot of you guys have been crocheting either longer than me or you learned younger than I did. A lot of people learned from like their grandparents or their parents. And, you know, I learned in high school. I didn't make my first cardigan until I was out. Man, let's see. It would have been 2015 or 16-ish before I made my first cardigan ever. I mean, I had the skills, but it feels intimidating. It feels so intimidating to have to make an entire garment. And I never thought it was possible, and definitely never thought that I'd be designing them. But I think that's why I decided that I needed to start designing them, because I wanted to make cardigans that weren't intimidating, that were easy to, for the first timer to try, where you, and that you didn't have to, you know, if you just learn to crochet, you don't want to spend 6 months making a sweater. You might, but I didn't, you know, so. All right, let's see what everybody's doing. Mickey places a stitch marker the same way on each end. And it's really smart. That way you're not having to count every single time. Jessica's going on row 6, so you're beating me. There you go, see? And I'm talking, that's the, the other problem. I'm using my new Pink Sheep 15mm hook, woo! Really is remarkable and light, nice glide, absolutely makes a difference in the neck and shoulder strain. I'm so glad to hear that. Chloe, I am working on a hat using a loom and using burnout blanket. The colors are the colors of Hufflepuff. That's awesome. And I've never used a loom. That's really interesting that you can use size 6 yarn for a loom too. Rose is using Karen Anniversary Cake. I don't usually work with super bulky yarn. This is great. Emma, I'm following along, but mine is mini size using Yarn Art Elite and a 4mm hook on row 5. Good Lord. That's so interesting. Oh, we got another spammy person here. Come on, guys. Go away. And Ellen is on row 5. All right, you can't be up here with me. Sorry. That's not going to happen. Okay, so I am on, and I'm going to count, see, I've got my rows. So I can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. I can see 4 rows. So I am starting on row 5. And I think for me, one of the reasons I love half double crochet is it is such an easy flow to the stitch to me. So I feel like I can work half double crochet stitches up quicker than I can like a half double crochet or even a single crochet. And I love that they create a fullness to the stitch. I feel like they help minimize, because I use bulky yarn, I don't want all of my projects to have big holes in them. Because not only do I use super bulky yarn, I use super bulky hooks. So the holes can seem a little bit bigger, especially if you crochet more loosely. You know, that's why a lot of my testers have to size down in their hooks in order to match my gauge. I tend to crochet pretty tight. But I feel like half double crochet helps to minimize that, having the larger holes in between stitches. Did I miss that? Oh, yep. Almost missed going under there. But it's a very meditative stitch for me, and I feel like I can complete them faster. It's just great. It's one of my all-time favorites. And I know I'm not the only one. I've asked that question before on my Instagram. By the way, you guys, if you are following along, I really want to see your progress. So if you are not in my Facebook group, please join, because I would love to have a thread where we can show our progress, because I think that that would be super fun. I would love to see what yarn you guys chose, how things are working up. All right, I'm starting on row 6. I'm going to start with my chain 1. So I always chain 1 before, but that does not count as a stitch. That never counts as a stitch. So your chain 1 does not count as your first half double crochet stitch. So I am now working row, did I say 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, row 6. And I have to do 20. 20? Yes, I'm doing 20 rows. Now, the interesting thing about this cardigan, and really about any of my patterns, I really, really want people to feel like they are allowed to be creative with these patterns. So I try to take designs and break them down to their very, very simplest pieces. So it's like the bare bones of a pattern. That's why this one, it doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. There aren't buttons. There aren't pockets. There isn't any of the extra embellishments. And I try to encourage people to get creative, add some pockets, add a different trim. You can even make this longer. If you make the back panel longer, you can add more rows. So for me, instead of doing 20 rows, I could do 25 rows. And I would just need to make sure that when I create my front panels, that I add the same amount of length to each front panel so it'll match up. But I want these patterns to be super easy to customize. And I feel like that has been really, really a joyful thing for me to see people customize these patterns. I saw Ellen, if Ellen is still on here, made almost a duster length pattern for this cardigan. So she made the Luna cardigan, but made it extremely long. And it was like a whole different piece. It was awesome. So that's a big part of my patterns, a big part of me as a designer, wanting to make patterns that are so simple that it allows you the creative freedom to put your own style, your own mark. You know, that's another reason I don't do color work. Most of my designs do not have instructions for changing to new colors. Some of them do, but I would rather you get creative and make a scrappy cardigan, or, you know, play around with your own self-striping yarn or stripe it yourself. You know, have fun with it. And part of that too, I think, is that I have always struggled with color combinations. I am not an interior designer. I am not a fashion whiz. I can't put a whole bunch of different colors together and make this beautiful palette. And some people can. Some people are really good at that, but not I. And so what I started doing when Pink Sheep started growing and I started designing more projects, I just go for it. You know, it may turn out to be ugly as sin, but most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time it's pretty cool, you know? And that's why I tell people, you know what, maybe even for you, you don't think those two colors go together, but screw it, try it. Just see what happens, you know, have fun with it. If you like those two colors, go for it. And so I think that's really one of the underlying goals that I have as a pattern designer, is to create patterns that help people get creative and do things in a way that makes them happy and brings them joy. You should not feel tied down to doing something in a very specific way that doesn't allow you any creative freedom or movement. All right, here we are. Just give you guys an update. That is what mine is looking like. Now, this is going to have bigger holes than something that, and I have a window behind me, so it makes it a little bit more glaring on this side. It is going to have bigger holes than a chunkier size 6 yarn, but that's okay. That's what I did for this one. I like the way it turned out. I'm happy with it. So, and this one, it's possible I could have done this one with a 15 millimeter, which does make a difference. You can go up or down one hook size, and that can make a big difference. But I think this is going to be just fine. Let me make sure I haven't missed anything. I do need to start See, I already did my chain 1, so I'm going to start on row 7. And give me a shout out on y'all's progress too, because I have a feeling, because I'm Chatty Cathy, that you guys are probably beating me right now. You're probably past me. Row 5 here. Yeah, I read that one. This is awesome. So cool to connect with other crocheters. Going to get on that Facebook group. Yay! It'll be good to have you. Evelyn's Facebook group is awesome. Everyone is very helpful and kind. Daphne, I'm watching while I put a border on a scrap yarn blanket. Helen, my daughter, loves that cardigan. That was a long Luna. And Angie, good afternoon to you, Angie. Working on row 7 of the Luna cardigan. Yeah, I really hope I had been wanting to make my stepmother a cardigan for a while, but it's one of those things where you know, we used to live in Georgia. My whole family lived in Alabama, and so we didn't see family very much. I know that that's not a long drive, but when both of us were working, we have 2 big dogs. You know, it's not very easy for us to travel. And then nobody really wanted to come to Atlanta. And I don't really blame them. Dealing with Atlanta traffic when you don't live in a big city, you know, and being in Alabama, the biggest city is Birmingham, which is where we are now. And even though my husband's parents have lived in Birmingham for the majority of their life, they still can't stand the idea of Atlanta traffic. So they did come to visit a couple of times, but it was difficult. It was difficult to see family more. And I really, you know, people are so particular about their clothing and how things fit. And so I really didn't want to try to guess as to making a cardigan for my stepmom without her being able to like try on some of the cardigans I'd already made for myself. And so now that we are back in Alabama, my parents were able to come over for Christmas. So they came. We did a very small Christmas with my parents, and then another small Christmas with his parents and his sister. And my stepmom was able to come over and try on some of my cardigans, and that was so helpful because I realized she actually is kind of in between sizes for me. So I'm going to make her the same size body that I made for the Luna cardigan for myself, but she needs the arms to be shorter. So I thought that was interesting because my stepmom is very petite, and she is a smaller woman than I am. So she's shorter and smaller. But she did like the idea of getting to layer the Luna cardigan over things. So she did want the larger size, but she needed, my arms are much longer and my shoulders are more broad. And so it was interesting seeing that difference, but I really hope she likes this one. I hope it turns out to be something that she wears often. Because I think that's difficult. I think making someone a wearable, you really have to know. You really have to know what their style is, what they like to wear. Or you may spend all this time making a sweater and then you never see them wear it because they don't really like how it fits or the color or whatever, you know. So I think if you're going to make someone a sweater, I feel like it needs to be something that they've specifically asked for, and that you really know it's something that they're going to want to wear, and that it's their style and their color and it's going to fit them really well. Or, you know, it may turn into you being upset with them, you know, and you never want gifts to turn into something negative. Okay, I think that's the end of what, row 7, row 8? What am I on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that's the end of row 9. I'm on to row 10. And it's 50 minutes. Okay, so I have 10 more minutes. Let's see how far I can get. So this is just going to be the back panel for this video, which I thought was good. I think that gives us a good stopping point. And then the next video, I will be able to start on, I guess, finish the back panel. I don't see myself doing 10 rows in 10 minutes. So I'll be able to finish up the back panel on the next one because I do want this to be a live crochet along. I'm not going to be cheating and doing work on this outside of this video. I want to be able to, I want you guys to be able to see me start to finish, create a cardigan, instead of me coming back and saying, okay, I finished the back panel, it's time to do the front ones. And again, a lot of that is to show, I really wanted to show real life how long it takes me to crochet a cardigan. And I think that might help people who, again, maybe feel overwhelmed by the idea of making a cardigan. And I'm not a super fast crocheter. That's another thing. I used to be. I used to pump out scarves and hats and headbands and all of that for craft shows. And I just can't do that anymore. I actually got quite a few overuse injuries that would happen during show season where actually that was one of the first times in years that I had to go see a chiropractor because I had lost the range of motion in my neck and it was very painful. Some of that was also the fact that I would crack my neck incessantly. Please don't do that. Don't do it. If you crack your neck like dynamite every time it starts to hurt, not good. It opens the door for arthritis to start forming in your neck. It can cause your neck to get all out of whack. And if you're not the type of person to want to go see a chiropractor, you're going to end up with doctors just sticking you on pain meds, you know. So I think it's important to take breaks. Don't pop your neck if you can help it. I think that helps. I also have, if you guys ever need ideas for stretches, I have a 10-minute video on my YouTube channel with neck and wrist stretches. I need to do another one. I need to start doing like maybe once a month. I should do like a stretching video. What do you guys think? It would be specifically just for, and a lot of it would be repeating. I mean, there's only so many stretches you can do, but you know, if that would help people, if I go live and do it, you know, if that would help people join in and actually want to practice and stretch, I think that might be kind of cool. So let me know what you think, if I should do that or not. Yeah, I have a newfound love for homespun right now. Getting to double strand it like this, I would even triple strand it, honestly. If I could triple strand it, that would really help even more with the holiness. And like I said, I probably should have sized it down to a 15 for these, but I think it'll be fine. My stepmom wants to use this to layer. And I feel like some of the yarn that I used for this one was like homespun knockoffs. So I feel like most of the craft stores have their own version of homespun. I know, pretty sure Joann's does. I know Michael's does. It's like, I can't remember what it's called. Hobby Lobby has one like this. And it's a mixture of all of them. And I feel like some of them are a little fluffier than the original homespun, I think. If homespun was the original, I don't know. It could be homespun, maybe the knockoff, and I'm just calling it the OG because it's Lion Brand. All right, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Emma is also on row 10. Terry, I'm on row 4. I had to frog. It usually takes a couple rows to get back to the right tension. So I had to frog 3 rows and start over. Well, I hope you're back on track because that's frustrating. I've had plenty of times where I've had to frog things and it's no fun. Ellen, Mickey says, I agree. Ellen, Evelyn's Facebook group is awesome. Thanks, guys. Ellen, I'm frogging back to the beginning, going to go up in size to loosen my chain stitches. I got them tight and it's keeping it from being square. Jennifer's just starting hers. I'm using 3 pieces of yarn. Ellen is too, using 3 pieces of yarn as well. A stretch-a-long. Exactly, a stretch-along. Stretching with Evelyn, yes. Amber Cadabra says, I'm finishing up my Weasley sweater before starting another cardigan. And the Weasley sweater, I need to make another one. Or at least re-photograph mine. I haven't photographed it since being at the old house. That's another thing. I'm trying to not share so many pictures at my old house because I'm like, obviously we don't live there anymore. But I haven't had as much time to get new photographs taken out here. And I don't know if you guys photograph your work or have people help you, but it's a whole thing, especially photographing bulky pieces. It means getting like a Tupperware bin, filling the Tupperware bin up with cardigans and accessories, and lugging that outside, getting the camera out, connecting it to the phone so that I can take the pictures remotely. Getting the pictures done, getting them into Lightroom, doing a little bit of editing. I try to edit my photos. It's very light, and that's another thing I would love to talk about at some point is the editing process for my photos. But yeah, I haven't figured out my favorite spots to take photos either, in the house or outside, and that's something, it takes a while. I mean, we were in the house in Georgia for 7 or 8 years. And it wasn't just until the last 2 years that I really figured out my favorite spots to take pictures. And so now I'm having to start over in this new house and figure out, okay, where is the good lighting? Where is it easy for me and easy for the tripod to sit, and, also have a place where I can put my phone down to control taking the photos. So it's a learning process, but we're getting there. Just taking time. So the next video, and it's interesting, I would love for this Crochet-a-long series to live in a couple of different places if at all possible. And the main thing depends on whether or not I can download this YouTube video to my phone or to my computer and then upload it to Instagram as an IGTV video. So if I can do that, then this, oops, that was all jumbled up. If I can do that, then I want this entire series to live both on Instagram and on YouTube, and maybe even on Facebook. If I can download the YouTube videos, then I will upload them to Facebook as a playlist. But my next installment of this Luna Cardigan Crochet-a-long is going to be on Instagram, because I am doing these as a part of my regularly scheduled live streams. And I go live every Tuesday on YouTube at 12 p.m. Central, which was this one. But I also go live every Friday at 12 p.m. Central on my Instagram. And I didn't really want to break it up, and only do it on YouTube or only do it on Instagram. And so number 2 is going to be on Instagram. But if you're not on Instagram, which I think you should, Instagram's great. You don't have to post anything. You can create a private account, just so that you can, watch and follow people. So you can do that if you want to. You can follow me over there at Pink Sheep Design. But if you prefer not to, don't have an Instagram account, don't want one, I will always download my Instagram lives and post them here on YouTube. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see quite a few Instagram live replays, so that people who are not on Instagram can come over here on YouTube and watch. So if you cannot join into the live on Instagram this Friday, which is going to be part 2 of this, I will post it immediately after on YouTube, and I may even do it as a premiere so that I can, if you do have comments, I can be available. So if you have questions or anything, I may do it as a live preview so that if you want to join in, so that would probably be around 1:30 or 2 p.m. Central, because it'll end around 1 and I'll need time to download it and re-upload it and set it to premiere. But that would give me the ability of, if you want to watch it like faux live and you want to comment and ask questions and follow along, I can be available in the chat. So let me know if you guys want me to do that, or if you guys just want to join in on Instagram, because that is where the next one will be for sure. And I'm trying to fly through this. I really am. Going as quickly as I can without screwing up and without messing up my tension. I think this is working out pretty. I mean, like I said, it has a little, it's a little more dull of a color than I thought it would be. If you look at the pictures for Painted Desert, I think that's what it's called, it looks a lot brighter. So I was a little let down by the colors, but when I asked my stepmom if she would want this color, she acted like she would like any of the colors that were in here. Somebody just honked, and I feel like I need to go look out the window and see who it was. Let's see. So the captain was out running errands today with his dad, and that may be them back. So here's my progress. Woo woo. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 rows. I think I have time to do one more. I know I'm over. Let me check and make sure that's not them acting like they need me because they just honked. Oh yeah, they're back. So I'm going to do one more row with you guys. One more row. And let me know what you thought in the comments before I go. Jessica's going on row 13, so you're close to where I am. I am using Homespun Doubled, Angie. Jennifer just made the Tonks hoodie. It's one of my favorite patterns. And it looks great. Awesome. Yeah, so one more. He may come in yelling at me. If he does, if you guys haven't seen the captain or met the captain, you can join in on any of our Instagram lives and meet him. Not any of them, but any of the ones that involve hook making or coding hooks or anything. But yeah, I hope you guys join in Friday. I think it will be fun. I feel like this, I've been wanting to do this for a minute, and I feel like it's going to be helpful and interesting. And some of it too, you know, I kind of struggle with trying to have a theme to my lives, but I also don't want it to get boring to where I'm just talking about random stuff every time. And, you know, I don't want to have to do a whole bunch of research for a lot of my lives. Every now and then I will if something really hits me and I really feel like it needs to be covered. I have a big video on copyright law after some of my designs got stolen. So sometimes I'm like, I feel like this needs to be researched and talked about, but is it J Hook Crochet here on YouTube? She does an amazing job with her crochet. Is it Crochet-versity? Yarniversity, something like that, where she does actual lessons every week. Amazing, every Sunday. So check her out, because if you want to like really have a learning experience each time about new things, and that's something that it just isn't my bag, you know, and I had to figure out what my favorite thing is. So I think doing these kinds of crochet-alongs, along with getting to just chat about whatever comes up and enjoy spending time with you guys, I think this will be a little more fun for me. So maybe I'll do a poll after this crochet along is over and see which pattern you guys want me to do a crochet along for next. I think that might be cool. All right, so I think that was row 15, and I think that's what I'm going to call it. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14. I thought I did 15. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 15. So I've got 15 rows. I need 20. So I will be starting on my next row on the Instagram live. But it is time for me to call it quits for now, so that I can go help in the garden, because that was what they were running to get things for our new garden that we're working on, which I will also get to share at some point so you guys can see some of our other fun hobbies. But I hope you've enjoyed this. Join the Facebook group. If you go onto Facebook and you just go to groups and you search for Pink Sheep Design in Facebook groups, it should pop up. Just request to join. I can bring you guys in and we can share some progress that we're working on. Make sure I didn't miss anything. See you Friday. Yeah, I'm not wearing my One More Row shirt. No. Thanks for this. I may have to skip ahead and buy the pattern. And feel free to do that if you guys want to work on it without me. I'm probably not going to work on it unless I'm on the live, because I want everyone to see how long it takes me to work on it. Terry finished 7 rows. I think you had to frog some though, so that is understandable. I love that I've left my own devices. I'm so one of these yes, you could do one of these cardigans in a weekend for sure. And Terry's enjoying the crochet along. I'm so glad. All right, guys. Well, I will see you on Friday then. Join on Instagram. And again, if you don't, I will post it on YouTube afterwards, and I will create a playlist here on YouTube for the Luna Crochet Along. So you can go back and revisit it anytime you would like if you need to, and other people can find it if they want to join in. But be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, so you can see new videos when they come up. You'll get notified if I go live. Hit the thumbs up on this video if you can. And I will see you guys on Friday. Happy hooking!